all you Covey Clubbers out there and podcast lovers and reinventors. This is Lesley Jane Seymour, and I'm the founder of this podcast and of the CoveyClub.com. And we are here today to talk about how to reinvent your attitude towards having a pet or towards an animal who might be really good for your health. And we are talking with Dr. Karen, a courageous Australian born physician who, after practicing traditional medicine for 8 years, made a huge life shift and moved to America. Karen then completed a master's degree in psychology and is a certified health coach with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. In 2016, her dedication to wellness was rewarded with the prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Wellness Institute. Karen's passion is deeply rooted in the concept of creating health, and she possesses a unique talent for making complex information accessible to all. And the reason why we're doing this, that's my little Leo, my child substitute over my shoulder there. She's a Scottish fold and has changed my life. Is Karen and I were talking about the Surgeon General's loneliness discussion and his report that he released about how loneliness is shortening our lives, is causing us all kinds of physical disease, heart disease, mental disease. And I wanted to really talk about, we all love our pets. What can they really do for us? And also, what kind of pet is right for you at midlife? It may not be a baby pet. You may need something that is more attuned to the lifestyle you're living today. So I want to welcome Dr. Karen, and we're going to talk about little Leo today and all of your wonderful fur babies. Here we go. I want to say welcome, Dr. Karen Wolfe. I'm so excited about talking about what pets can do for your mental health, since I am so in love with my little kitty and all my cats I've always had, but in particular, my child substitute, Leo. He's a Scottish fold, and there are moments when I think he is my child. It's really bad. So let's talk. First of all, I would love to know your background in how how you come to this topic.
Yeah, it's good. People think, okay, so she went to medical school and now she's talking about pets,
Why not?
right? I wish they did back then. So
Hmm.
the short story is that I went to medical school in Australia. I'm an Aussie from down under, and the whole route, traditional medical school. And I probably would have stayed there if I hadn't met the love of my life, interestingly, and reinvented myself. And he happened to live in America. So whisked me away to California. And then I had that chance to choose again because I'd have to do all my residency again. Now this is 30
Oh,
years
I
ago.
didn't know that. Hmm.
Yeah, Canada and US, not so much because I think they probably do their US MLEs in Canada just so they can work in the States. But, Australia, I never thought I would leave Australia. So when I really looked at it, I thought I'm really more interested in creating health than treating disease. And that was a really clear choice for me. And hey, there are people that are really good at treating disease, and I'm very grateful to them. But I really wanted to go down this path of that question, that the question that drives me every day is what creates health. And I became a health coach way back in 2000 so that I could spend more time on lifestyle and that big question. And so you can see how it gets us to this topic in the broad perspective of holistic health. What creates health, mind, body, and spirit is all encompassing. And the research that's coming out about pets is outstanding and in very traditional journals and including the Surgeon General. So it's a great topic to highlight, shine the light on so that we can really appreciate, it's not just a side thing, oh, I just happen to have a pet, but that mindset when we also appreciate the value of something, the value of it grows. So I think it's a really good thing to really spend some time focusing on.
So let's talk about the Surgeon General's report, because that was really an important report for me. The very first article that I did for Covey was about loneliness. And we don't talk about loneliness because it's a dirty word. And, but it's a fundamental issue as you get older. What happens is, your kids grow up and they leave, and maybe you have a divorce or widowhood, or maybe your friends who were on the soccer field with you fall away because your kids are no longer there. You get to the top of your profession. You've already made your friends in your profession. Some people fall away. I mean, before you know it, you can find yourself with fewer and fewer friends. People move away, and that's an issue. And it really is true that there is a loneliness in midlife that can happen. And the question is, how do you solve that? And I was so delighted when he came out with that report, because it's there. It's definitely there. We know it exists. No one wants to talk about it. I found it debilitating when my kids both left the house, and I was a full-time, professional like you. And I thought, well, it's not going to hit me because I have all these other things. And it was horrible. It took a couple of years for me to figure out how to deal with that.
Right. And hence you created a community of
Yep,
people that are going through a similar thing that, of course, is right on
exactly.
top of the list of what to do in that situation, because reinventing ourselves is not easy. It's like no one taught us how to do this,
Mm-mm.
especially on the professional track. And then suddenly our life changes for many different reasons, and that we don't have the skills to be able to figure out who we are again. That's really the question, like who we
It
are.
is.
And our friends are often associated with our jobs or our kids. And yeah, so much changes. And for the surgeon general, like a very traditional, right? The most traditional group, say that we have a loneliness epidemic and tie it specifically to physical and mental illness. Like they listed in that report, and it's very available to anyone. You could just go
Yeah,
Google
it's a great report to pull down. Yes.
percentages of heart disease and stroke and depression, like very specific results of loneliness, something that doesn't get talked about. So I was really happy to have it, to have a light shone on that. So
So
important.
how did you, I mean, I walked into the pet thing by accident. I believe that animals can fill a spot in your life that is somewhere between a spouse and a child. Like nobody can fill that child spot when they go. And no one can, the spouse can't fill that. This is all my opinion and what I've learned. But there's an animal is like putting in like a toddler that never grows up. You never have to send it to school, and it's always there for you.
There you go.
And it does. I mean, I joke with my kids. I say Leo's my child replacement, and they laugh because they know what I'm trying to say. But it does. It's very much like a parent child rewarding kind of thing. And when my girlfriend's husband died suddenly, I got her a kitten. And when my two kids were, in lockdown in COVID, and they were all both living alone in these apartments and working remotely or going to school remotely, I said, why should you be lonely? And both of them ended up, of course, my solution is get you a cat. Um, and it was phenomenal. It was
Mhm.
phenomenal how it changed their lives, just completely changed it because you have a living being there with you who wants to be with you and gives back to you. What's wrong with that?
Traditionally, right? Yes.
So
And
talk
cats,
about
I
your
think,
research, talk about your research.
yeah. And cats are different than dogs too. I'm a dog person,
Yes.
so I think from what I hear,
Yeah, yeah.
dogs.
No, and I would have done, I'm not a dog person, but
Yeah.
dogs are better in that way, my understanding.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the connection you make more than anything. I think dogs are harder because, they take more. You can't just leave them. I think cats are
Right.
more independent.
Right.
And we've always been a dog family, interestingly, when my daughter she's now 30 plus, and now when She was in preschool. I remember taking our little new puppy to her preschool and introducing our little West Highland Terrier. And then all of our kids have dogs. It's been kind of like it's funny, it becomes one of those family traditions. We're a
Oh,
dog,
yes.
every one of us. And now the kids have left, and I have my dogs. And now they're getting older. Both my dogs are 13. So it's so
That's
interesting
scary.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also part of the life cycle. They live such a short life, and I'm already starting to grieve, even though, they're getting close. Um, and that'll be a whole family dynamic that we celebrate their life. And it's so darn annoying that they live such a short life. But I really wanted to shine the light on helping people appreciate more. There's so many benefits. Stress is obviously one. So in stress management, we use a lot of sensory experiences. So when you pat your cat or pat your dog and you're touching, you're feeling the warmth of the body, the heartbeat, and you're also mindful because cats and dogs are just there. They
Mm-hmm.
just live, they just be. And you know how we say we're human beings, uh,
Mm-hmm.
beings in the true sense of the word. And so it allows us that mindfulness moment. And so if you have a busy, busy, busy mind, some people have trouble like meditating or slowing down. I do that with my animals. Like I have that time with them that I'm just in that moment. So it really helps me to ground and calm. The parasympathetic nervous system comes down, and then patting them and being in their presence. So stress management is an obvious one, and that probably is the link, part of the link to heart disease prevention, stroke prevention with animals that the Surgeon General is talking about. And then from a mental health perspective, when you're calm like that, your neurotransmitters change, serotonin, dopamine. So the links between having a pet and reduced levels of depression are very clear, very clear. And then different age group ranges, young children, not only, having a pet also reduces allergies because we're mixing with,
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
yeah, we're mixing with their microbiomes and their immune systems. And it's well known that it helps with children's allergies. If kids have any sort of social anxiety, pets can be a way that they learn connection and communication. So and then the other end, for longevity in Alzheimer's, they are using specifically animals for that connection and engaging the brain and allowing that the importance of social connection. You have a lot of these aged care centers have their pets in there, or they have not every resident, but they might have a dog or a cat that is part of the residents there because they realize the importance of animals. And then physical activity. So
Mm-hmm.
you probably chase your cat around now and then. Well, when someone has a dog, you actually have to walk them, like you've got to
Mm-hmm.
take them out. And with
Mm-hmm.
that, a lot of dog people, I live, there's a park just above us, and it's so sweet. There's a group of men. Now, for men, probably forming a social group is not as easy as for us. Every evening at 4:30, now it's kind of gets darker, so it's a bit earlier. There's about four guys with their dogs that all meet up at the park the same time every day. Now, they wouldn't meet if they didn't have a dog,
Oh
right?
my God, these guys, no, they won't meet. They're like terrified of reaching out to each other. It's I can understand. It's just
And it's
it's a mystery to me.
from a health perspective, I'm seeing it whole different. When one of them doesn't turn up, they wonder why. Like they check on each other and they walk the dogs down. We have a long paseo down and they walk them back up. So the social connection happens often when you have this community of dog lovers or cat lovers or animal lovers generally. So there's some social connection.
That's interesting.
It really is. Yeah. And it's all men, that particular group. So the Surgeon General did list, like in the report, they talked about owning an animal can reduce your health risk, the same as reducing your cigarettes that you have every day. Like they were very specific in listing the research, which I was really happy with, that you actually
Mm-hmm.
quantify this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I am more of a, like I said, a dog lover. But learning the actual social skills and appreciating another being. There are some people that love their animals kind of more than they love their kids because
Yes. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
feel love. The love from an animal is not like I have one sitting right below
Oh,
me
do
here.
you?
Yeah. The love from an animal doesn't, there's no expectation. It's just received.
Right.
And yeah, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I remember in medical school, I remember vividly, they would say, okay, so one of the ways to prevent mental decline is to have a plant because you've
A
actually got to water
plant.
an animal
Oh,
plant, a pot plant. And never did we talk about animals, but the same kind of thing. When you have a living thing, there's someone other than you that you've got to take care of. And that empathy and that connection, it's almost like a spiritual connection. It's something that is beyond you that takes us to higher places with our health.
yes. Well, and I remember the studies, and this was a while ago, about older people, especially living alone. This is before the Surgeon General. I think I was still at More Magazine. And what they said is if an older person who is living alone had an animal to take care of, they lived longer because
Yes.
it forced them to have somebody to care for,
Mm-hmm.
and to be there for.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it was a life extender in many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. And then the flip side of it too is you've got to choose wisely because an animal, let's face it, can also be more stress if
Right.
it it has behavioral issues or,
Right.
uh, yeah, I know. We have two dogs. We have a West Highland Terrier, a little white one, and a Wheaton Terrier. He's about 40 pounds. And we didn't realize that he didn't like other dogs, and we had some issues with him. So we had to take him to some training, spent some
Uh-huh.
money, take him to
Right.
training. It really worked because our anxiety level went up. Every time I would walk past another dog, I'm like holding on to this animal, trying to hold him back. So choose wisely if you're going to get an animal.
And one of the studies, and we wrote about this a while ago on CoveyClub, is about a lot of women, midlife women, want to get a puppy when their children leave. And the advice that's out there actually counters that and says you should get a midlife dog. You should get a dog that is not a baby starting all over again and keeping you up all night and all of that, that people forget that it can be like starting out all over again with a baby, and you're not ready for that at midlife. And that a lot of these animals in shelters who need homes may be at midlife, and they're
Absolutely.
much more in tune with your rhythms and you're going to go out for a walk, you're going to go, but it's going to go to sleep at night, things like that. Have you heard that?
Oh, absolutely. And Christmas time is the worst time too, when families get all these little puppies and they're really not prepared for what it
Right.
takes, and it creates stress in the family. And
Yes.
then, yeah, so I absolutely agree. Don't be be careful about puppy. Be know what you're getting and what how that's going to change the rhythms. And at midlife, where we want more joy and calm in our life, we've worked for it, we deserve it. Having a new baby, kind of not what I would want to do. So I
Yeah,
have a
people are
lady,
forget they
yeah,
forget.
yeah. Or there are certainly people too, if there's a certain breed of dog, I have a lady that rescues West Highland Terriers. So if there's certain breed of dogs that you want, then and you think, oh, I'm not sure if I can find it at the shelter, then look around for rescues in that particular breed of dog.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And little dogs versus big dogs, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's another thing to think about size wise, because my 40 pounder Wheaton Terrier, now I kind of lift him upstairs now because he's kind of getting a little weaker. So think about that too if you're going for a dog, what size and weight that they're expected to get to, because that could
Mm.
be a surprise.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
let's talk about how a pet improves your brain health in particular. Can you talk about that directly?
Yeah, well, particularly the thing I'm interested in is the serotonin connection and dopamine connection. So when you're serotonin is the feel-good neurotransmitter. So some people might know that from Prozac, Paxil, Zoloft. These are SSRI inhibitors, which serotonin release inhibitors, meaning they increase serotonin because they block its excretion. So anything that increases serotonin are things that I call it natural Prozac that are calming. So, and this is not about going off medications. This is not medical advice, but one of my dreams is anytime a doctor is prescribing an SSRI drug, then let's also talk about ways to naturally increase serotonin. Sunlight is one, massage is another, and pets are another. Social connection. And pets that do not create what I was talking about earlier, which is the anxiety, which I always say, choose very carefully. Or cats when they're sitting on your lap and purring. This is increasing your serotonin level, the feel-good neurotransmitter. It helps you sleep better. It helps you think better. It even helps with cravings because serotonin is very much related to sugar cravings. So neurotransmitters are how we have many of them. Serotonin is one that we hear most about. So I call that a natural Prozac. So that's a big one. And the stress management piece. So stress and the hormone cortisol. Cortisol is our stress hormone. It's very damaging to the brain. So anything that's damaging to the body is damaging to the brain. So when you decrease your cortisol stress hormone, you're also opening up the blood flow and allowing more oxygenation throughout the whole body, which includes the brain. So I know that gets a little technical, but these are real issues that are happening when we have a pet that we love.
And does it have to be a dog or a cat, Karen? Can it be, what if you have, I mean, goldfish, or what if you have, um, guinea pigs? Or does the type of animal matter? Tarantulas, snakes, I mean, whatever you like. Do you have to be able to pet it? Is
Well, the
that
petting
something?
part has that added benefit. Let's just face it. The
It does.
petting part
Okay.
has the added benefit, but it's also the connection you have with the animal. So, and the love, how much of your heart you can open. I remember when I first heard about how to reverse heart disease by Dean Ornish, and he talked about
Yes.
his big study that, yeah, we can open up arteries and we can fix them surgically, but the way to open our heart is through love. Love. So, and that's what we're talking about with animals. So, a guinea pig can love a guinea pig,
Mm-hmm.
that little guinea pig, rabbit. Goldfish, I guess, has the added benefit of that mesmerizing mindfulness. So, I think any animal has benefits. I think when you can actually touch them and that sensory piece, that
Mm-hmm.
added benefit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And anything in particular for midlife women that you want to talk about? Because that's kind of who we reach, not only, but
Yeah.
anything in particular?
I think you touched it so beautifully at the beginning when you talked about how our life changes so much. And for me, with also empty nester, I get my grandbaby every now and then. He's one and he's walking around and just loves the little Westie.
Uh,
Just loves the little Westie. They have a beautiful connection. But then he goes. I have this big injection of love, and he goes, and like there's this emptiness feeling. And yeah, like you were saying, our spouse is very important in our life, and animals have this very special place of love unconditionally, so that I
yeah.
can keep my heart open and I can also feel I have a role taking care of animals and really taking care of them and is a role for us. Remember we had to take care of our kids and now I have and we have two. I've always had two because I love the companionship they give to each other.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have three cats all together. Yeah. Very
between
different
those.
personalities, but yes.
Yeah, yeah. And it's lovely to see them bonding. And I can say that I'm never lonely. I know my husband used to travel a lot. So when he was away, I just never felt lonely because I had my animal, always there, always there. And I do think I hadn't thought about it till you said that about how it's different throughout our life, the role of animals and that empty nest feeling. It's so lovely to just have this being with us all the time.
Yeah, it really definitely, for me, it was transformational and definitely helped me transfer my my need for children onto something else so I could let them
Yes.
go, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
what else should we know about, I mean, the type of animal or the need at this stage of life and anything else that I haven't asked you about?
Well, I think doing some research is really important to because you can't just I know you bought a cat, which was lovely for your friends, and maybe you knew that they were cat people, but
Yes,
there
I
are
did. Yeah.
yeah, you did, yeah.
You have to
So
be
there are
careful.
definitely cat people and
Yeah.
dog people. Like I've researched, I've learned how different it is. I have three girlfriends. They're all cat people, and when the four of us get together, they talk about their cats all the time, and it's given me an appreciation of cats that I didn't have before because I've never had cats.
Right.
And so kind of there's probably surveys out there to help you determine if you're more of a cat person than a dog person. Now,
Right.
know that it's really tough now. Like I want to travel a lot, but I have two
Aha.
dogs. So it's
Yeah, what are you going to
really
do? Right.
limiting. It's
Right.
really limiting. And they're
Right.
older. I don't want to put them in an overnight place. So then I pay people to come in and stay at our
Right.
house. They stay overnight.
Right.
Now that's expensive. And also you got to
Right.
find the right person because they're coming into your house.
Right.
So that's a
Right.
big deal in midlife. So cats, as I understand, are more flexible that way. You could have someone come in and kind of check and leave. But with dogs,
Right.
I gotta have someone stay overnight. So
Right.
that's a big deal. So I don't know. I might be better to be a cat person in midlife than a dog person, to be really honest.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the things. If you want to be free to travel and you want to have more time to yourself, a pet definitely needs consideration and how are you going to deal with that?
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, a cat definitely is easier. And I will just put in a plug for the Scottish Fold. We used to get nothing but pound cats, which were always fabulous my whole life. Domestic short hairs, very, very, very independent. My daughter insisted that we get what I call a designer cat, which is the Scottish Fold she fell in love with. She ended up getting this. This is what she wanted. So I got it for her birthday during COVID. And the cat was so amazing. It's like a dog. It's wherever you are, it's there. It converses with you. It's like a very different, it's not like my regular pound cats. So I ended up getting one as well. And it's a different, the breeds are different. Like just like in dogs, I'm sure they are. They have different, but cats actually, I never knew this, but there are some cats that are very responsive and very, wherever you are, they're there. They do want to cuddle, they do want to be part of everything. I just had never experienced that. So it just turns out these Scottish folds, which now everybody in the family has,
Oh,
um,
that's amazing. Huh?
happen to be that kind of animal. Very odd. Wherever you are, they are there. They want to be part of it. They're not afraid of people. They come up to strangers. They know people's voices. Um, so they can be very different, and you have to find the one that's right for you
Yes.
and your
Another one,
family.
another one of my friends who a cat lover, she goes into it's a pet store and she volunteers and cleans
Oh,
out.
mhm.
And so she gets to see different. One of the reasons she started was she wanted to experience different cats. So
Right,
she and then decide what breed she wanted. So that's
right,
another thing to do. If you didn't want it immediately, you could go and volunteer. Many places you can
right.
volunteer to take care of animals, to get that feeling of if like where you want to move towards a dog or a cat. So that's another thing you could do, is to volunteer, because we know volunteerism is also really good for our health. I just wouldn't
Absolutely.
volunteer at a shelter because, oh, my heart would just break with leaving. But,
Yes,
there's some people that really do beautiful work and give those animals such love.
right. So, as we come to a close, what else would you like people to know about the benefits, the health benefits of actually connecting with an animal and having an animal that's there for you at midlife?
To be able to appreciate it, as we've talked about it today, to really put it on the top of your list of possible health benefits in midlife, which we
Hmm.
haven't done.
Hmm.
So we talk about medication, we talk about exercise, we talk about
Right,
diet, we
right.
talk about animal pet therapy, and in a very positive way. So just really recognizing it is one, and um, just start. I would uh, look at the Surgeon General's report on loneliness
Hmm.
and talk about that with friends. Like, let's bring mental health, shine a light more on mental health, which I think we're doing a much better job of, and the Surgeon General certainly is. And really talk, if something is on your heart and mind, especially at this time of life where so many things are changing, and it's really hard sometimes to admit it, especially as professional
Right,
women who've been successful all our life. And suddenly this
right,
question about, okay, so who am I now? And what is
right,
my role? And
right.
I know one of my goals this year, as I was reflecting, is inspiration. I want to continue to be inspired and find other people that inspire me and that I can be inspired by. So just talk about where you are in life, and also I would say, in terms of pets, like, be really careful, because it's a real thing. It's this part of life. If you do want to travel a lot, pets
Yeah,
can be really, can hold you back. My sister lives in
right,
Australia, and she likes to come here for Christmas, and she has to go through a whole rigmarole. She has a dog,
right,
to
right,
have the dog minded.
right,
And when we love our animals so much, we don't really want to put them in these big places that have animals overnight. And they have pet cams and things that you can look at. But I spend a lot of money having someone stay at our house when we want to go. So just be really mindful of what it exactly involves. Yeah.
right. And choose the right animal for
Yeah.
you at this stage of
Right.
life.
Because that can have the opposite effect. It can create so much stress, which we don't need in our
Right.
lives.
Right. It's supposed to be the opposite of that. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Karen. I so appreciate it. And I love the fact that we get to talk about our animals for the first time on this podcast. And I hope everybody will, there's an article we'll put in the show notes that you can pick up that Dr. Karen wrote all about that. So you can follow up. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. It's my pleasure. Bye bye.
So I hope you enjoyed this conversation about fur babies, and I hope that you learned a lot, and I hope that it will give you some insight into why those fur babies make you so happy. And if you don't have one, maybe it's time to get one. You just got to make sure you get the right one. If this was helpful to you, I hope that you will give us a review. That's how other people find us, is by the number of reviews we have, and give us some stars if you liked it. Also, if you're serious about reinventing yourself, mosey on over to CoveyClub.com. We have tons and tons of guides and essays and articles all about how to reinvent yourself or reinvent your attitude toward midlife. Anything that's going on in your life, we know how to deal with that, and you can get it done. And if you're really serious about reinvention, come in and we'll put you with these fabulous women who will help you reinvent yourself in small groups. We are all doing it together, and it makes it much easier. So hopefully you will come join us, and we will see you next time.